Greetings, comrades, back with more capital for you. And oh my, we are very close to the end, y'all. There will be 3 more videos after this. Very, very close. We are now on part 8, the final section. Part 8 is called So-Called Primitive Accumulation. And chapter 26 is titled The Secret of Primitive Accumulation. And he starts off explaining what we already understand, that when someone has money, they can turn that into capital, which they can then turn into surplus value, which becomes more capital. So those with the money, those with the capital, continue to create more wealth for themselves. So primitive accumulation is this starting point before capitalism really became what we know as capitalism. He calls it the original sin. We're talking about buyers and sellers of labor power, and this beginnings of capitalism, Marx says, starts around the Mediterranean in the 14th and 15th century, with the capitalistic era really beginning in the 16th century. He talks about free laborers, as in free from owning their means of production, some freedom that is. And again, primitive just means pre-capitalism. It is this historical process of divorcing the producer from his means of production. The emancipation from serfdom, which sounds like it could be a nice thing, but it just means you're taking people's means of production away. The economic structure of capitalism grew out of the economic structure of feudal society, and this is what's happening in this time period. Chapter 27 is titled Expropriation of the Agricultural Population from the Land. We're talking about England again here, and there are what he calls free peasant proprietors, and this is after the end of serfdom. And again, these people are free, as in free from owning any sort of means of production. We're talking about peasant farmers here who share a common land, and the strength of a feudal lord is based on the number of peasant proprietors that he has, right? The more people you have working for you, the more money you can make, essentially. And again, this time period in England is the late 15th and early 16th centuries, when there is this breaking up of feudal retainers, this mass of free proletarians being kind of like expropriated from their land. And generally speaking, this is when they start moving into the cities and becoming factory workers. And let's see, talking about Henry VII removing the peasantry, this consolidation of property ownership happening, and land going to the church in many circumstances as well. But essentially the removal of the poor from the land that they have lived and worked on for generations. This is where we talk about the enclosure of the commons, where landlords are just taking land as private property. This is mine and you can't live here anymore. Large farms are becoming common here. So rather than having, say, 24 small farms in an area, it is now consumed into 3 very large farms. And this is definitely something we see happening today as well. He considers these things to be gross acts of violence against people. But these things are necessary to lay the foundations for the capitalistic means of production. There was no compensation given for 3.5 million acres of common land that was stolen by landlords. So when we think of the commons, the common land, this is where the serfs, the people, the farmers lived and worked, and they shared this land, right? They would have to give a certain percentage, a certain amount to the feudal lord, but there was common land for the people to work, and this is what they fed their families and themselves off of, right? So all of that land was now taken by these large landlords, and the people were kicked off of it. They were clearing the estates. They said just removing people from this land, destroying villages, and turning them into pasture land. And this expropriation was enforced by British soldiers. Again, things we see today, right? When people get evicted, who is there to enforce the eviction? The police, right? The sheriff's department. And let's see how much time we have left. 5 minutes. I'm going to cut it here, and then I'll make another video reading a quote for y'all. So 3 more videos. We're so close to finishing Capital. Thank you for sticking with me. Cheers.